Almost every man I know wants to be with more attractive, higher caliber women. And 10 years ago, when I was 24 years old, I was at rock bottom with my social confidence and my dating life. And after going through all the concepts that I want to discuss with you guys in this video, I can honestly say now I'm at a point where I feel very confident, but more importantly, entitled. I feel very entitled to actually be with the girls that previously I genuinely felt like were out of my league. I had anxiety, I was afraid to approach these girls. There's no way in hell I would be able to actually date one of these girls and feel secure being with one of these women. So I wanna show you guys how I made that transformation, and more importantly, how you guys could do the same to start leveling up your dating life. So I wanna talk about some mindset shifts that you're gonna need to go through, as well as what are the things you could start working on today to start getting results. And I also wanna just lay out the path that you're gonna need to go down to really get your dream dating life. So let's rewind 10 years ago when my first girlfriend left me for another dude on my birthday. It was my 24th birthday. I was at rock bottom. I didn't know what to do to actually increase my dating life. And at the time, all I thought was, let's hit the gym. And I think that's what most dudes are probably thinking. Let's hit the gym, let's hit the dating apps, and let's go out to the nightclubs and probably end up like getting drunk. Now, obviously, I am a big advocate for working on your physique, but understand guys, like getting jacked alone is not going to get you your dream girl. And in fact, that's gonna be a recurring theme in this video. There is no one thing that you could do that's going to land you your dream 10. Because a lot of dudes will ask me, Kyle, is it looks, money, status, or game? Which one is it? And honestly, it doesn't matter which one you focus on. It's not any one element that's gonna get you the girl. Instead, what you're gonna need to do is actually build up multiple qualities of yourself that collectively raise your sexual market value, AKA your SMV. Now understand guys, a woman's SMV versus a dude's SMV are not the same thing. And that's why a lot of dudes are fixated on the idea of just work on your look. Because as a dude, when we look at a woman, her SMV actually is primarily made up of her physical look. If you saw your complete dream 10 and she was exactly the way you like a girl, you would be extremely excited. You wouldn't be thinking, I wonder what her personality's like. No, you would pretty much be sold right on the fact of just seeing that woman. Because from the dude's perspective, a lot of women's value actually comes from her ability to replicate. Now, for a man, it's not exactly the same. Although replication is a part of it, there's also a lot of survival mechanisms that come into place when we're talking about sexual market value. And that's why for a dude, it is not just about looks, and it's also not just about money. There are several factors, and I want to go into them in this video about how I actually went through each one of these things and how you could do the same. So yes, guys, your look is important. It's not the end all be all, but it does matter. Money, I don't think that the actual number in your bank account matters that much. In fact, most women aren't even gonna know that number until you guys have been dating for a very long time. So instead of money, I want you to look at it more of like the lifestyle that you could live as a means of having money. And then when it comes to status, I don't want you to think just about being a celebrity or having massive clout. Status is actually environmental. So status online can be one form of fame, but status can also be within a job environment, within a fitness environment, within a club environment. The way that you communicate can actually convey certain levels of status or actually low levels of status, depending on how you're interacting. So instead of money and status, I want you guys to think more about lifestyle as a whole. And then the last part of this is game. And yes, game is important too. That would be your confidence, your charisma, your ability to flirt, create attraction, seduction, being able to create emotions within the woman that she could experience when she's interacting with you. Because a dude who has looks and money, if he can't interact with the girl a certain way to create emotions within her, then he's not gonna actually be able to get that girl. He's not gonna be able to arouse her or seduce her and ultimately date that woman. So yes, guys, your look is important. Money and status ultimately create a lifestyle for you. And yes, your game is very important too. So now that we understand these pillars, I wanna talk to you guys about how I went through each one of these pillars and what I'm currently doing to try to max these out. Because if you're talking to a woman and she genuinely thinks that she's a 9, even though I don't like to play the numbers game of 9s and 10s, but for the sake of this video and the title of it, let's just use subjective numbers, right? So if she thinks she's a 9, she needs to genuinely believe your sexual market value also equates to at least a 9, maybe even higher than her. Girls are not going to be drawn to a dude who they genuinely believe is lower level than them unless they're just trying to take advantage of that dude. And you as a man, You want to attract a quality partner who genuinely looks up to you, who will follow you and support you and admire you. And that's why you're gonna need to put in the work that I'm about to explain in this video. So let's talk about the look itself. I have worked a lot on my look over the years. I'll throw some pictures up on the screen. You guys can see how I used to look. I'm 34 years old now, and I actually take pride in my look at this point. I have a lot of people that are in disbelief about my age, and I will continue to maintain a healthy, youthful appearance as I age into my late 30s, into my 40s, and even into my 50s and beyond. And most dudes, when they think about their look, I think the main concept that they believe is just, let's hit the gym. Understand, that is just one element of your look. Hitting the gym alone is not by any means optimizing your look. I see a lot of dudes who hit the gym, but they're not actually doing a progressive overload at the gym. They're not triggering to their body that they need to build more muscle to get through their workouts. They're also not calculating their calories and being in a deficit and maintaining a low body fat percentage. I think personally myself, I'm way more attractive at about a 10% body fat than I am at 13 or even 15%. I'll throw some pictures up on the screen. You guys could see this is me at a variety of different body fat percentages. I promise you the dude that's at this lower body fat is a way more attractive dude, and I also just feel more physically attractive. I feel more confident. I feel more sexy when I'm walking around at this body fat versus the chubby fat dude over here. It just says something about yourself. If you want to fast track these elements, you could actually click the link below, get into the lower tier community. I have daily live coaching calls going on in there. All the content is nice and structured out, and you get an initial one-on-one call with me where I will lay out what you need to start doing this week to start leveling up your dating life and your social confidence. You also want to work on your grooming, your fashion, your face, your appearance as a whole. So I get a haircut every 1 to 2 weeks. I make sure I get a nice skin fade. I personally line up my beard every couple of days. I've gotten a hair transplant. I also am on hair medication to make sure I maintain my hair. I've gotten Invisalign. I've gotten my teeth whitened. And then I even more recently got my teeth done to really perfect my smile. And then I also make sure I have well-fitting clothes that hug my body, that accentuate my physical features to really optimize my look as a whole. You need to figure out which one of these attributes in terms of your appearance are you lacking and start being more proactive with optimizing your look as a whole. Now let's move into your game, okay? Your communication, your vibe, your charisma, your social confidence. All of these factors are extremely important too. I have a whole channel that I've built up that teaches these elements. So I'm not gonna nerd out for an hour on these concepts in this video, but watch the videos on my channel so you get a better understanding of those things. You need to have some level of social confidence. That way you could go up and actually interact with your dream girl when you see her. If you can't hold eye contact or your communication's whack, you can't create the right emotions in a conversation, how are you gonna attract that girl and keep her engaged and wanting to see you over time? It just doesn't work like that. The idea of
just focus on yourself and your business and work on your look.
those are great things to build, but I do think simultaneously, you need to be working on your game. My social confidence was at a very low level. The first thing that I started to do was go out and interact with strangers on a daily basis. I would practice cold approach because it forced me to face my fears socially. It forced me to learn how to properly communicate to somebody to make a really good first impression. It also taught me how to be an amazing conversationalist. I was put into these situations over and over and over again, so I learned how to carry a conversation in an engaging way, how to inject teasing and flirtatiousness into an interaction to keep people engaged, and how to carry that conversation all the way to get a phone number, to set up a date, to actually run a date, and ultimately create attraction and seduce a girl long term. And understand, cold approach alone is not the end all be all. I am not saying just go all in on cold approach. It's a great tool that you could practice on a daily basis by just putting in a couple minutes while you're going about your day. And then also another element of game is just your communication and your vibe. There's a lot of dudes I talk to, they're good looking dudes, they're in environments where they can meet women, but they talk like emotionless. They don't have expression or animation in their face, and the way that they communicate is very stale and boring and monotone. Understand, guys, it's gonna be very hard to create emotions with somebody you're interacting with when your communication is at a very low, bland level. So what I recommend doing is analyze your communication. Record yourself on video, record yourself in an interaction. Pay attention to the elements of your own communication that are lacking and be more proactive with tweaking your communication to optimize it. And start interacting with women. Yes, start interacting with women. You need to consistently get into conversations with girls you're attracted to. I would also recommend you start going on dates with women, even if it's not the top tier that you want. You need to start practicing flirting, creating attraction, being able to smoothly escalate, being able to lead a woman properly, being able to hold frame with a woman. These are important factors that will ultimately lead to you having more confidence when it comes to dating higher caliber women. And they notice this shit, man. I promise you, if you go up and you interact with a very high level girl, she's unconsciously gonna scan you. She's gonna know your nervous mannerisms, your failure to hold eye contact, or the conversation just goes stale because you can't make it fun and emotional and teasy and flirty to get her aroused and intrigued to want to get to know you on a deeper level. So yes, these elements are crucial if you really want to get higher level women in your life. Now that we understand looks and game, I want to get into lifestyle itself, and then I'll show you guys the process that you could go through to really max all of these out. I want to just show you an extreme example that will highlight these concepts, because let's say we take two of the same dude. The first dude, he's pretty good looking and he has a decent level of game. Maybe it's not maxed out, but they're pretty good. Now, let's say that dude was never in environments where there's attractive women around, right? He wakes up, he does his morning walk on his treadmill in his apartment. He does his grocery shopping at the corner store bodega where there's low-level people like crackheads hanging around outside. And then he goes to the gym at the bodybuilder's gym where there's just a couple jack dudes and there's no women there. And then he works remote at home. And then he also, on the weekends, if he were to go out, he just goes to the corner little pub to shoot pool with his boys and nobody's really there. And that's his week. That dude, even though he's good looking, even though he has a decent level of game, how many women that are attractive is he actually interacting with on a daily basis or weekly basis? It's pretty much zero. And that's what I see with a lot of dudes. Like, they're not living the lifestyle where they could actually interact with the caliber of women they want. Now, let's just say, for extreme example purposes, I take that same dude, I make him slightly more ugly, and he actually has a lower level of game. But that dude now, when he does his morning walk, he actually walks through the busy downtown area of a major city. Right? And then when he goes to go grocery shopping, he goes to the popular Whole Foods that's right in the middle of that city. And then instead of working at home remote, half of his day, he actually goes to the busy cafe and works remote at that cafe shop. And then instead of working out at the bodybuilder gym where there's the two jack dudes, he goes to the really busy Equinox. And then 1 to 2 times a week, he actually goes to the high-end restaurant that turns into a little lounge or like club later on. So he eats dinner there and then he mingles for 1 or 2 hours on like a Friday evening or Saturday evening. And then over the weekend, he casually walks through the downtown area again. Now, this dude, even though his looks and his game are at a lower level than the first example, this man will have a much higher chance of landing his dream partner simply because of his lifestyle. And that's what I was saying earlier, guys. It doesn't necessarily matter about the number in your bank account, because that first dude could actually be a multimillionaire, but he's just not interacting with the attractive women. The second guy could have less money, but he paid a little bit extra to go to the gym that's at the high-end spot. He pays a little bit extra rent to live in the busy area. He pays a little bit extra to shop at Whole Foods. He pays a little bit extra to go out on the evenings and walk around the busy places where he could interact with high caliber women. That is half the battle right there. So each one of these pillars is going to ultimately dictate your sexual market value and the people that you have opportunities to interact with on a daily and weekly basis. A good looking dude who also lives the lifestyle, he's gonna get attention from women and get into interactions, but if he has zero game, he's not gonna be able to create attraction, or he might get a phone number and then the girl ends up ghosting him later on. Good looking dude with game, but no environment to be in, well, he's not gonna really get that much attention from 9s and 10s because there aren't any of them around. So he's just getting attention from the 6s, 7s, 7.5s that are at his gym, or he might encounter a couple of these type of girls throughout his day to day. Dude who doesn't look that good and doesn't have game, but is in the environments, he might actually clean up a little bit just because he's in these environments, but still it's gonna be very hard to keep those girls' attraction long-term because of his lack of physical attraction and his lack of understanding of how to keep the attraction through game and confidence. And for that reason, all three of these pillars are very important. So now that we understand those, do an evaluation of yourself, guys, because I talk to a lot of dudes on my consultation calls. And with every guy that I talk to, they're missing 1 or 2 of these pillars. They have some of them, like they're not bad looking, their game's okay, but then they never get out the house to actually interact with their dream girl. Or they're in these environments and they look okay, but then their communication and their confidence is just whack. So figure out which parts of your own character is lacking, and you want to start to be more proactive with building those things. And that comes down to the daily actions, the daily habits you're doing, every single day to build the character. The final part I want to discuss with you guys is you need to start to work your way up to dating higher caliber women. You're not just gonna go today from the 7, you watch this video and suddenly you're dating a 10. It just doesn't work that way. You need to accept and be real with yourself about where you're at on this scale. There's nothing worse than a picky ass dude who's a 6 or a 7 and he feels entitled to having the 8, the 9, or the 10. And I'm looking at the dude and I'm like, why do you feel entitled to get this woman? You don't look up to par, your confidence isn't that high, you just make some money so you think you're the shit, but you haven't put in the work on these other areas. So accept wherever you're at, take an unbiased look at your life, based on the experiences, the work you've put in, the way you look, and your environment. Figure out where you're at right now, and now we need to start to be proactive to slowly work your way up. If your sexual market value collectively as a whole is a 7, you are not ready to go out and get a 9 or a 10. Even if you got attention from that girl, you're not gonna be able to keep her. You're gonna be freaking the fuck out. You don't feel entitled. You have no evidence supporting the fact that you should be with a woman like that. And that's honestly why a lot of dudes fly to third world countries, because the dude who's like a 7 in the USA, a white dude, if he's in fucking Colombia, suddenly he's 1 to 2 points higher. And now he gets attention from those kind of women. So that's why a lot of dudes are trying to go with passport bros to like go around the idea of putting in the fucking work to really level up your character. It doesn't need to take 10 years. All right, you could achieve most of the things I'm talking about in 1 to 2 years. And honestly, would you really want it any other way? Honestly, like if you really want to be with your dream partner, the girl that you are so attracted to, and she looks up to you and she idolizes you and admires you for the man that you've become and wants to be with you long term, dude, that's gonna take a little bit of time. Go in with the right mindset that this may take a little bit of time, but it's extremely fruitful every step of the way, because as you start to level up, you're gonna get more bought into the idea of optimizing your look. You're gonna enjoy hitting the gym. You're gonna enjoy putting in the hard work on a daily basis because it's fulfilling. You feel good at the end of the day. You feel proud. You feel excited and ambitious as a man that's growing and expanding. And that's ultimately what attracts these people into your life more, to make you feel entitled enough to be around hot women and to be with high-level dudes. Okay, so work your way up slowly. Understand it's a long-term play, but it's really fulfilling when you start to get to higher and higher and higher levels. If you want help with this, if you want to fast-track your results with this, guys, click the link below. Check out the video inside of the lower tier community. It's extremely affordable. For a couple dollars a day, you could really accelerate this process. Click the button below right now. That's all for this video. Let's level the fuck up, fellas. See you in the next one. Peace out.